It's the Deb and Jen Show, live.
Deb and Jen are at it again.
Here's Deb and Jen.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Deb and Jen Show. We're excited you're here, and we're excited to take your questions. Today's theme is everything around sales, particularly pricing. Like, how much should I charge for my services or for my course? I'm just all over the place, and I keep hearing high ticket, high ticket, high ticket. All right, so we're going to cover all that today. I'm Coach Deb.
And I'm Coach Jen.
And together, we've been answering these questions for over 20 years. So we have a little bit of roadway under our belt, and we're doing our best to help you with your questions as they arise, because our goal is to help you grow your business and make more money. Because like we like to say, if you're not making money, you have a hobby, not a business. All right, Jen, you want to lead off with our first question? Unless, Sarah, do you have a question you want to ask us regarding pricing? You can think about it for a minute.
Yeah, I'll listen and then I'll let you know. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Cool. So I do that. I do have a question. I will tee them up. I've got a couple of questions about sales and pricing. So question number one, what if you make an offer, like you offer your program or your service and no one buys it? Should you go and lower your pricing and then try again?
No, you should just go home.
That's it. You should just stop trying.
Yeah, that's it. Pack it up. You're obviously not doing something right. Okay, no, are we talking about like if they're at an event and they make an offer and no one buys, like what should you do? Okay.
Well, I think also, or if it's like an email, or if you send out your offer, or yes, if you present it from stage and nobody buys it, like when you go back to redo it, should you just go and lower your pricing and then try to do it again?
Live on the stage?
No, not like, hey, it was 2,000. Okay, if no one took it, it's $100. Who will take it for $100? No, not that.
Well, we've seen that happen live, haven't we?
Yeah, oh, yes, we have. I don't want to talk about it.
We've seen amazing things happen live. One of my favorites was someone made an offer from the stage and she said, go to the back of the room and sign up. And no one went to the back of the room. So she said, hey, didn't you guys like my presentation? Raise your hand if you like my presentation. Great. So how come you're not buying? Why aren't you going to the back of the room? Stone silence. And I slid down my seat going, you did not just ask them why they didn't go to the back of the room, did you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. So it seems like, what could you say instead, Jen? So obviously you're a little bit caught in the middle there. You don't know what to do. So what could you say if you find yourself in that situation?
Wait, are we talking about on stage and you make your offer?
Because that's how we started it. Like if you're on stage or you're at a networking event and you made a little offer and no one moves, what should you do?
Well, gosh, there's so many factors to that lead up to the offer.
Yeah.
Let's pretend like I can't influence all those right now. If I'm at the moment where I made an offer and nobody stood up and did anything, I would go right back to the pain and the problem. I would go back to the pain and the problem about, what the problem is, what the pain point is, and then I would lead back to a solution. It's so much more complicated than that, actually. But what I would not do would be to beg. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't cajole. I wouldn't get confused and lose control of the room. I would stay the leader and maintain my composure. But then after the event, I would definitely go back and rewrite my offer, because obviously something didn't work that led me up to that point of crickets.
Exactly. So we always like to say people don't buy, even though they may have that problem and they want that problem solved. They don't buy because they don't see the value, and you somehow haven't translated the value to them. So I agree with you. Go back and look at how you presented your offer. They agreed with you all along your presentation. Yes, they've got that problem. They want that problem solved. And it comes time to putting money on the table. I don't know. Do I really want that problem solved? So there's a couple of ways to heighten that. It's either heighten the pain or, Jen, heighten what could happen for them in the future. Like what could your future look like if you finally had this problem solved? Like we say, if you take our advice, for example, on what's not working, how come you're not selling, and then all of a sudden you implement the advice and your business starts to grow, we can say, we know from experience that when you follow these steps, you're likely to double, triple, or 4x or more your income. And isn't that what we all want? Okay, so we want to paint a crisper picture, a more concrete picture of what they can expect when they take you up on your offer, right? So that's one end of the spectrum. And as you said, the other one is the pain end.
Yeah, making sure that the pain is really clear. Because then if the pain is really clear, let's say that you're on stage, you're speaking to an audience, and you want to make sure that the pain points are very, very clear, and that the people are self-identifying. They're actually nodding their head saying, oh, this is for me. She's talking to me. He's talking to me. As you present your different pain points, so that then by the time you make the offer, if the offer applies, like if it has credibility that it will actually solve that pain point, then it becomes a no-brainer where people are actually sitting in the audience or listening to you thinking, okay, I have this problem. They've self-selected into being your ideal client. They've already decided that. They're just waiting to figure out how do they get it? What does it cost? What does that look like? And that's the goal. When you're presenting from stage or like online, et cetera, when you're making an offer, you want your audience to have multiple opportunities to self-select themselves like into your group. So that by the time you get to saying, guess what, I'm going to alleviate this pressure, this buying pressure or pain, they're literally just thinking, give it to me. Like, how do I get it? Just tell me what it is. Please don't leave me hanging. And that makes your offer magnetic. And that's what gets people to stand up out of their seats and go to the back of the room.
Yeah. Or well, you raised a good point. That could be on a webinar or a masterclass of some kind, and you get to the point of the offer. So it's a little bit trickier actually online because you don't have the energetic chemistry back and forth. They can't feel you as much as they can when you're live and in person. So you have to be even that much more prepared. So can we talk about this pain point thing for one more minute?
Sure.
Because what I always say is sometimes people have learned to live with their pain. Like, well, I guess I'm just going to be single the rest of my life. Or, what's 20 extra pounds? I'll just drag it around for the next 30 years. So how do we get them unhooked from that, I just have to live with it mentality?
I love that question. So for your audience pain, like creating scenarios, again, that they can self-select and they can see themselves in a very visual, I often call it the fly on the wall scenario, which is a little creepy because flies are creepy, but fly on the wall scenario, like a moment in time that your audience can actually see. They're like, oh my gosh, that happened to me last week. I had that problem. They begin to see themselves in the stories you are telling. And that it takes the pain and makes it raw, like more raw. I always say like scaring is caring. If you can get someone to have an actual emotion versus like, yeah, it sucks. I'm carrying this extra weight, but I do it. And it's the holidays and blah, blah, blah. Like if you can take them beyond the nicety.
I've always been chubby.
Right. Like, oh, if you can take them beyond that to like kind of a punch in the gut moment of holy beep, like this is a real problem. Like now I'm having heart disease. Now I'm having trouble going up and down stairs, whatever it is, when you give them that actual scenario. And how you can do this is you can sit and imagine your perfect client and ask yourself, like in the course of a week, a month, like what are the pain points that you solve that they actually experience in their life? Like, are they having trouble getting in and out of their car? Are they having trouble going to a holiday party and not overeating? Are they, having chronic illness? So if you make a list of the different symptoms, not just pain, but like life symptoms, maybe it's hurting their relationships or it's hurting their work. Now you can begin to speak as if you were sitting in their living room with them and living their life with them. And like, oh my gosh, like she gets me. She knows what problems are going on. She literally just described what happened to me and you got them. Like they know you have credibility and you care and you understand. And all of a sudden it makes making an offer easy. We always say like, serve hard, sell easy, right?
Yeah. Love it. So let's sum this up in the easy to understand sort of diagram. So people are here, them in their current life, and they want to be here, right? And your offer is the bridge they walk over to get there. You make it easier for them, like you call self-identifying, tell me what it is, I'm ready to say yes. You sharpen the pain or the predicament that they're in. Like, do you really love having no money at the end of the month? And you're worried about how you're going to pay your bills? Like, what is their pain? You sharpen it, you bring it to the surface. And you also sharpen what the outcome could be, what the change could create for them, what the transformation might bring for them. And now both of these are glistening. They can see them clearly. And it's like, yeah, no, for sure. I want to walk over this bridge and get there. Now, one little caveat. Some people have given up hope that this is possible for them. And so one thing we can do is say, I've worked with a lot of people just like you who said, I just don't think it's in the cards for me. But when they took the steps that are outlined in my program, step by step, they actually transformed and achieved the outcome that had been dreaming about for years. It is possible for you. What you need to do is take the action and walk across that bridge. And I'd be happy to get you there. All right. So I love that diagram of, here you are, here, this is where they are now. This is where they want to be. And our offer, our program, our coaching, our social media solution, whatever is going to get them over to what they want. They want more leads on social media. Well, hey, I can help you with that. So there are lots of different, obviously, problems that people have or challenges or obstacles. And we have to know exactly which ones we solve. So this is a great question. And it's everything when it comes to closing the sale.
Yes. Yes. And I have I want to take this also one step further, because what I see often with clients, and maybe some of you have been there, is when no one buys, the first thing that entrepreneurs often do is say, okay, well, the price was too high. Maybe the price was too high. Maybe if I lower the price or I offer a discount, then it's going to work. And I'll tell you my opinion. I'd love to hear if you got another one, Deb, is price is the last reason that someone makes a buying decision. It's the final thing they consider. Because how many times have you thought, if you wanted, like, I don't know, your clothes, your car, your house, a program that you purchased, you thought, I want that. It's going to solve a problem for me. And you figured out how to pay for it. Rather than discounting, like that's the last place that you should look. Never try to be the lowest on the block. That's 100% my opinion. What do you think about that?
I agree. And, there's so many stepping stones along the way to this, in terms of what price should I charge? Because if people don't know you, they're less likely to buy an expensive course or program from you. So there may be some interim stepping stones of more modest priced programs or introductory webinars or masterclasses that you might want to have so they can get to know you and trust you and like you, frankly, because that's how people buy. We know that hasn't changed in years. Social proof is important too, of course, but yeah, I agree. Don't lower your price. And the first thing that happens when you lower your price is you subconsciously have the sense that, well, I guess I'm not worth that. And it begins this little decline of, what am I worth? Why aren't people, you just don't do it. Stand firm, stand strong, and stand committed, knowing that the value of the transformation that you create is worth that the outcome that they're going to have is worth that investment, and reminding them that it's investment in themselves. Any woman who's been shoe shopping and looks at a pair of shoes in the window and goes, geez, $497, I don't know. But then what happens? They start fantasizing about how they're going to look in those shoes, where they're going to wear those shoes, who's going to like those shoes and comment on those shoes. And before you know it, they've got them in the shopping bag and they're on their way home, right? So it's all about the value that they've created for themselves. They did it themselves. So that's kind of what we're asking you guys to do when it comes to the sale. Help them see the value of the transformation, because people don't always connect the dots. We got to do it for them. All right. Any questions from our participants at this point, or should we take the next one that we have on deck? Rhonda or Sarah, you guys got anything related to pricing?
It's interesting when you talk about pricing, because I offered a group program. And I made the price ridiculously low. And what happened was I ended up getting more people reaching out to me for my high ticket stuff than I did for the one, for the group program, which was so low priced. I had to work twice as hard to get people to shell out hundreds instead of thousands. So it really resonated with what you're saying. It made a lot of sense to me. And the other thing that I realized was when I did this group program, because it was really a test, that's all it was, is number one, I'm going to take it from 5 days down to 3 or 4 days. And number two, I'm going to double the investment. And my initial, thought when I was doing it was, I'm going to do this once, it's going to be recorded, and then I'll just keep reselling it. And I learned two things. Number one, I love doing it live. Like, it's so fun. And number two, I also learned that it just, I would never buy it if it was recorded and that was all you got. So, I think the moral to that story is test. And, like you've always said, Deb, you got to know what your end game is, right? What are you looking for? And don't undervalue yourself, which I did. I absolutely did. So great lessons. I just love you guys. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Go ahead, Jen.
Fantastic. Like the idea of, I love that you reflected that back. This idea that a lower price is going to bring more people on. And you hear it said, like people say in the industry, it's easier to sell something for $5,000 than it is to sell something for $500. And I think until you have that actual experience, it might be hard to believe. But people who want something that's premium, something that's quality, I think the believability of this is actually, it has a higher chance of solving my problem because it's a more robust program versus like, it's a couple $100. I'll just try it out. And the level of commitment goes down when the money's not there. And oftentimes I'll ask my clients, like, if this was free, like if I was like, it's free, just hang out with me, I'll do whatever, we can coach and we'll write your talks and we'll do all these sales systems for you. If it was free, would you be here right now? Would you show up every week? Would you do the work that we both agree you need to do? They're like, no, probably not. I'd get distracted. I'd be eating lunch. I'd be going on vacation. I'd be walking my dog. So money matters. It's a commitment and an exchange. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things too that I learned is that it's okay to have two different audiences, right? And to have choice. And part of the reason that I decided to really do it a low investment, right? Low point of entry was because a lot of times, when I go into certain groups where you just get that 30 or 60 seconds to pitch, which Deborah is such a brilliant expert at creating, right? You're not going to get somebody that's going to do anything other than potentially book a call with you. But my specific goal was, I don't want to have a call with you. I just want to send you to my landing page. And basically, if you're not in a position to invest just a few hundred, then you're not my client, because some of them will obviously just, ascend, right? And say, okay, this was great. And either they want to go into your high ticket or they want to take what you've done and bring it to a much broader audience. So I think that it's kind of cool to have both, because that's always been a missing for me. And part of what I think is really important, this is what people miss out on, is, Deborah, you have the ability to literally just channel the messages. Like, things come out of your mouth and you don't even know what you said. So you better be recording when she talks, right? Because the truth is that you need that. You need that messaging in order to sell anything. It doesn't matter if it's a low ticket or a high ticket. It all kind of comes back to the messaging. And I think what the expertise that you bring, Deborah, is you see the blind spots. That's the thing that is one of your many superpowers.
Wow, thanks, Rhonda. Well, a big reason why we wanted to do this show is because it's one thing to read a book or an article or listen to a webinar, and it's quite another to integrate or implement what you're learning. Right. And that's where a lot of people fall down. And so we wanted to create an outlet where people can come and ask their just-in-time questions for just-in-time answers, going, I was just at an event. Here's what happened. What could I have done better? Great. We love those questions. Let's take it apart and look at where it could have gone better. And I will say one thing, and this is a rule that cannot be broken. People will never get any more excited than we are. So like today, you probably can tell I'm suffering from a little cold, but I have to be amped up because no one's going to be more excited than we are, right? So don't be like the down and the Debbie Downer, not to use my own name at the meeting, but amp up your energy, get in state, stand tall, have the X factor. If you don't know what that is, maybe we'll take that up on another show. But my point is, get excited about what you're doing, because people want to work with people who are excited about what they're doing. They want to work with passionate people. They want to hang out with you and, pick your brain, but not if you're kind of a lowly one. And I'm not talking about quiet versus loud. You can be incredibly passionate and soft. And people are like going to go, what? They'll lean in more because they feel like you have something important to say. So that's just something to think about. There's so many things to think about, Jen. We could go on for days about the sales process and what we have to remind ourselves of, but just little bits, if we can increment them, little bits at a time, we get stronger and stronger.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions? Curious, like any pricing challenges you faced anytime you made an offer and not had it go the way you anticipated? I'm sure if you made an offer, you've had that experience before. Anyone, are you speaking?
Sarah, it looks like Sarah's got a question.
I have a question. And my question is, in this, I'm very new in this arena of making offers, very, very new to the whole world of this, probably been in about 6 months to a year. But I myself am already overloaded with all the free offers, free challenge, free webinar, free masterclass. And I'm just curious if you recommend charging at least something, $27, $47, $97, so that people show up. And if you are offering, value, shouldn't you charge something? Because I mean, in my other groups, I'm seeing where they'll have like 30 or 40 people sign up. No one shows up because it was free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I'm a fan of paying. I like people paying me something. I did a presentation once. I was in Boulder, Colorado, and I think I'd maybe in the low 40s. I mean, if I remember right, it's been a few years ago. And because I like people to pay me, because I want them to have skin in the game. I want them to be willing to show up, like be willing to leave their house, like in a cold winter day. I want them to get up from their hot dinner and like say, oh, I got this thing. I paid for it. I need to go. And this was a live event. I charged like $11, something simple, because it was a group, like my intro that fed the rest of my process. And out of the 40 some, I had it was like 27 or 28 that showed up. And I guarantee you, if that $7 hadn't been involved, if I had 5, I would have been lucky. So I'm a fan of that, because I'd rather filter people out right away that aren't interested in paying me than have everybody show up and then try to figure it out. There's other ways to do it. Coach Deb, what do you think about this?
Well, there's a couple of options here, but I absolutely agree with charging. Some of the big boys in online marketing won't do anything free anymore for this very reason, because the no-show rate is astronomical. So, we're talking about people who've been in online marketing for 15, 20 years, and they've been, surfing the trends, and they know what's working and what's not working. Free things are not really working. Mm-hmm. An option you can do, a couple of options. You can charge $97 and say, I'll refund your money if you show up and stay till the end. That's an option. You could also, when you get to your call to action, say, hey, I really appreciate you being here and taking your time. So, and you've presented your offer. I will apply the money that you paid today to the offer as a down payment. And that's another way you can do it, where they feel like they got something for free, but it wasn't really free, if you get what I'm saying. So, but free by itself, no. And you can even speak to that elephant in the room. Everyone else may be offering something free, and I get why they're doing that. I don't believe that free has as much value as when you invest in yourself. That's why my masterclass is priced at $47. I guarantee you it's worth at least 3 times that. If you implement, just one of my suggestions on that class, you could easily earn 10 times that in your next conversation.
Deb, it's interesting. And I agree with everything you've said. But the one thing that I will say is if you're promoting this event, whatever it happens to be, on LinkedIn, it gets really, really challenging to get people to pay because they won't do it on LinkedIn. And I was just talking to somebody that I'm going to be doing something with, and we're going to teach people how to show people how to show up at events. So he had, I think, 79 people show up for his free masterclass. And out of the 79, the program that he offers is a $99 residual, right? It's a recurring payment of $99. And he actually got about a 70% show rate, okay, and a very large number of people that actually purchased. So what I would say is, if you're marketing it anywhere outside of as a LinkedIn event, charge for it. Absolutely. But if you're doing it on LinkedIn and you want people to show up, you can't, charging for it is not going to work, because that doesn't go with their model. And again, I've done it, and I've had 100 people show up at my LinkedIn webinars. Now, my close
can
rate.
you clarify for 1 sec, Rhonda? This is a webinar you're giving on LinkedIn, right?
Well, it's a webinar where the topic relates to LinkedIn.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The topic is, how do you book 2 to 10 appointments a week? Okay, that's what I teach. And then at the end of it, I'm selling a $497 masterclass. That's 3 days. Okay. And so, remember, it's a cold audience, right? There are people that I'm just inviting, and I'm getting 10% of them to buy, but I'm getting 50% of them to show up. So, I don't know what it would look like if I said, okay, it's $97. And if you don't feel like you got value at the end of the hour, I'll actually give you your $97 back, right?
Right.
You're going to get some yahoos that are going to say, yeah, give me my money back, because that's always the case, right? But what you will get a bigger percentage of are people that will say, sure, take my 97 and apply it towards the cost.
Right.
So 6 of one and a half dozen of the other, but any platform outside of LinkedIn, charge. If you're going to do it on LinkedIn, don't expect people to show up, because that just is contrary to the model.
Yeah.
And on that note, I got to jump to a call, but this is so fun. I love you guys.
Yeah, we're about to end it anyway. Thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to just check in, Sarah, did that help answer your question, our discussion?
Yes, it did. I think that you're all saying that as long as it's off of LinkedIn, that charging is a model that is preferable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, I think there's a hybrid where you could actually also incentivize them in other ways to show up, to show up, like whether that's, when you attend, here's what you're going to get. Like there's a bonus, or there's something else that you're going to gift them. Like everyone who shows up, depending on the size, is going to have, be offered a one-on-one call with me, or be gifted something, or have a surprise. You could even not say what it is. There could be some incentives for them to show up. I still like charging, though, personally. And it's okay to have free front end marketing, in my opinion, like whether that's social media, whether that's little live videos or trainings that you do, that's your front end marketing. But if you're going to actually plan to, deliver, a workshop or something that's much more of your time and value add for them, then I would charge. That'd be my recommendation.
Yeah. And can you explain just what you mean by front end marketing, like little videos?
Sure, absolutely. So front end marketing, it's all the things that I'm going to use the F word right now. Yes, I am going to use the F word. It's funnel, the thing that fills your funnel. So front end marketing is the stuff that happens to I'm going to do it again, to fill your funnel. And
a funnel is like funneling people into your tribe, your sphere, your whatever. Okay, let's just for people who are not sure what a funnel is. Yeah,
it's just getting like the front end marketing is getting people's attention. So in most businesses these days, there'll be front end marketing, which means they haven't purchased from you yet. They haven't. You're just getting their attention. So there are free things you can do. Of course, you can do online videos. You can make social media posts on a variety of different platforms. I'm going to go old school. You could send out mailers. You could post a flyer at a coffee shop. There's so many ways to get people's attention. Those things often are free. But my opinion and experience as a coach is that when, let's say you're planning a 3-hour training, I think it's of value and that people will show up and lean in more and get more of a transformation if they make an investment to be there, even if it's a nominal investment. Mm-hmm. Now I know you've got people who are like, I'm in this, I'm very curious, and I want what you've got.
Mm-hmm. It's can be sometimes confusing out there because the people like the woman that you had recommended, Deb, and I took the challenge. She who's like so uber successful and she's offering free, right? And then I see other uber successful people maybe charging $17 or, there's another mentor I work with who's uber successful and she's doing all her things free. So, but because they're well known, people are showing up to the free event, right?
Yes, and that's another nuance, isn't it? None of these answers are ever black and white, right? So if somebody's incredibly well known and they have a mailing list of 200,000, there are different things they can do that those of us who don't have a mailing list that big can't do. So yes, it's all a numbers game there. So having 30,000 people sign up for a webinar is fantastic, right? Or 30,000 new opt-ins. And then offering something for free. Does everyone show up? I don't know what those show up rates were for that woman, but it'd be interesting to find out. But the other thing is, shoot, I just lost my thought, what I was going to say. Sorry. It was probably that. I think that was a 5-day challenge, wasn't it? Yeah. And people charge for 5-day challenges now.
Oh, they do.
It's a question. It just really comes down to creating. Oh, I know what I was going to say. This front end marketing is for people to get to know you, and not just get to know you like, hey, I'd like to take her out on a date, but get to know you like, who are you? What's your expertise? What problems do you help people solve? How do you do that? Am I going to like working with you? So it's a little bit of personality. Are you passionate? Do you care about me? That's a big one. Do I sense that you really care about my outcomes? Because why work with someone who's not invested in you, right? That's just there for the money or whatever it is no, we want someone who's on our team, who's going to walk side by side with us. So all this front end marketing is to get people to know, like, and trust for sure, right? And say, yes, you're my provider. I trust you. I see what you can do for me, and I'm ready to get started.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, I really have been thinking about this question for a while because I myself am so oversaturated with all the coaches and everyone it's just constant free. And I've done, dozens and dozens of challenges and webinars and learned, but at a certain point, you just feel like this model has to somehow change because for that reason, it just feels, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Does it feel oversaturated?
I mean, yes, completely over. I think it's completely oversaturated from the standpoint of, like, there's this thing called the paradox of choice. And the paradox of choice is a concept where we imagine that when we have more choice, we're going to be more satisfied, right? So I've got, I can pick from 57 different types of blue jeans. I'm going to be more satisfied because I have all these options. But the paradox is that you have so many options, it begins to, they all blend together, and you can never know if you made a good choice. So in this market right now, it's so easy to say, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, I'm a coach, and nobody can figure out who actually has experience and can truly help them. So to be able to stand out, I'd actually encourage you to position against free. Like, you could actually speak out against it. I think, and Coach Deb spoke to that. You can actually speak out against this idea of, like, there's so much free coaching out there. How do we know where to focus? How do you know who to believe? You could use that to differentiate from everyone else in the market. So because of that, like, here's my background. I would say your bio comes in two big chunks. The first one is expertise. Like, here's my background. Here's, I've been in this industry, or I've been coaching, or I've had an experience, a personal experience. You talk about your expertise as to why you are qualified to help them. And then the second big category after expertise is your humanity. Like, and not only do I have this experience and am I passionate about it, but on top of that, my heart, like, I have this deep connection with helping women, et cetera, whoever your audience is. Like, why do you have what is your humanity and your heart behind it? And now you put expertise and humanity and wrap that up with, like, here's why I'm not giving free courses, because everyone's doing it. And frankly, it's not serving you. It's actually confusing people. So because of that, yes, there's a small investment to come and work with me. Yes, because I want you to actually get a transformation. And I know if I just keep giving you free stuff over and over and over again, chances are you're going to stay in your pain and you're never going to find a solution. So you can position it and help them to understand just exactly what you're sharing with us. Tell them the truth, and then tell them why there's an investment, and you'll get people that respect that level of honesty.
And those are the people you want.
Yeah.
Thank
you both.
That are the tire kickers, right? So you want genuine people who are looking for a solution and are willing to invest in it. I just got to tell you, in speaking of the paradox of choice, then we got to wrap up. We're a bit over. They observed in Las Vegas when they used to have these endless buffets, like 120 item buffets, people would just pile the food on their plates, and then they would interview them on the way out. And how was your dinner or your meal or whatever? Oh, it's pretty good. Well, what would you rate it on a 1 to 10? A 7. Well, how come a 7? Well, because I didn't get to try the crab legs. The meatballs look good, but I was full. In other words, there were too many choices. So they cut the number of items on the buffet in half, and people were much happier because they feel they got their money's worth. When there's so many options out there, it's confusing. We become overwhelmed and actually dissatisfied. Let's take this up next week, Jen, when we talk about, like, there's so many shiny ornaments out there. How do we pick the right one for us? Such an important question. And if we're one of the shiny ornaments, how do we make it so that people pick us? Maybe we can take that up next week. Great question.
Let's do it. Yeah.
I really like this. And it's making me think that if someone, because I know for myself, if someone can't pull out their credit card, because that's what it is, I have to go through the extra effort instead of just signing up for free, go get my credit card, and whether I pay $17, $27, $47, I know I'm going to show up if I'm willing to do this, invest in it. And you're exactly right, Deb. I want people, even if I only got 5 or 10 people on the call signing up instead of 40, those 5 or 10, it will probably show up versus the 40 who might not anyways, right? It's sort of.
And they're not just going to show up, they're going to participate. They're going to be good clients.
Yeah.
And when you have good clients who finish your program and do well, they become raving fans and they start recommending you. So it would be better to go critical mass, from 4 or 5 highly committed people who have success, then it turns into 8 or 10 and 10 or 20, rather than a bunch of people you don't want to have to drag people through your course.
Right.
So this is a way to eliminate some of those people as well, who aren't inclined to really do the work and get the results. No one wants to work with those people, but they do end up in our courses. So, these are some strategies where we can eliminate that. All right, we're going to have to wrap up for
Thank you.
show. And thank you so much for attending, and everyone watching on the replay. We always have a blast. There's never an end to the number of questions we can answer. So we hope you've got some takeaways. And Jen, any final thoughts?
If you are a speaker, if you are a coach, an entrepreneur, and you're trying to figure out how to get your message to your market, if you're trying to figure out how do you share what you do in a way that gets the right people to say, ooh, tell me more, and you want to make some money as you do it and help people to get a transformation, bring your questions here. That's what we're for. We've been coaching, like Deb said, for over 20 years combined. And we just have a ton of experience, and we're excited to see you create and bring your gift into the world.
Absolutely. All right. So we'll sign up for now. Bye for now.